As you've been hearing, author Thomas King says he's not Indigenous after an investigation into his ancestry. King is the author of books including 2012's The Inconvenient Indian, a curious account of Native people in North America. To speak more about that is producer, writer, and actor Georgina Lightning from Edmonton. Georgina, really great to see you and to have you with us here. I guess we'll just start with your thoughts that longtime author Thomas King has admitted to not being Indigenous.
It came to us as a shock because it's always kind of been a gray area. There was always speculation that he was not Indigenous. But recently, we've been pulled into a conversation about one of Thomas King's books, Two Indians on Vacation, to be performed in Edmonton, Alberta on the stage here at the Edmonton Opera. So there was, the community was in an uprise about that. How come there's a non-Indigenous author being performed on our stage in the Day of Reconciliation? So Joel Ivany called us in and asked us to consult him, advise him on the situation, because they had never ever experienced this before. This was going to be the first Indigenous opera performed on the stages here in Edmonton. So when we placed it for a questioning from his agent, we got back that watch out for the Globe and Mail. There's going to be an interview, an article set out, and so the next day, after several threats and a lot of heat from the composer, the fact that he came out clean after, is he 84 years old? It was just, it's like a victory. Finally, we can put this to rest. There's no more conflict about it, because it's always been a gray area. People will defend him and people will argue against him. So this way it puts everything to rest. It's now out, it's fact, and it's a victory for us.
You've been involved in the arts for decades. Your children have all been on the screen for decades. What does it mean, and what damage is done when someone misrepresents themselves like this?
The damage is, it strikes a chord emotionally. Like it's very profound. There's so many of us that are content creators. We write content based on our lived experience, based on our blood memory. Our spirit speaks to us when we're writing story, and it matters. Our voices haven't been heard. We're underrepresented in such a gross way that when there is an opportunity for somebody to step into this arena and appropriate, it's an act of violence. And to continue doing it, even though it's made aware or there's question about it. And, like Thomas King has been questioned for over a decade. Kyron Potts, he pointed out, why is this such a big deal? Because the universities knew for over a decade that Thomas King was a questionable person, and we all knew that he was not Indigenous. So why is this a shock today? It's a shock because he finally admitted. So Thomas King finally admitted. So instead of us all, staying in the gray where it leaves room for confrontation and conflict, etc., it's in black and white. There's never going to be a discussion about this again. But the harm is insane. Like Trickster, look at that example. There was an example of Vice, a job that I really wanted, a residency, and it was two cultural appropriators that got the job. Out of anybody that could have applied, it was Heather Ray and Michelle Latimer. I wanted that job, and I didn't get it because they're better at persuasion. We were just talking about the art of persuasion. I'm not great at that, I guess. So, there's a lot of losses. The whole cast and crew that were on Trickster, when I heard of the questionable genealogy of of Michelle Latimer, pardon me, I immediately, the same day, wrote a letter to her, and I asked her, I said, I have an Indigenous company, 100% owned and operated. Can we acquire the rights and keep this train moving? Because there's so many people involved in this, in front of and behind the scenes. A lot of cultural representation from Kitimat Nation, and this is Eden's story. Like, it's Indigenous authored, And so let's keep it going, but she refused to give up the rights. And so that, I mean, look at that, whole production was canceled. And that was a big deal. We were emotional for a while on that one, you know. We're all bruised by that one. So, yeah, and it continues to happen. And, you know, in the meetings, it's like, there's so many authors that you could write an opera. Richard's my neighbor, you know, Richard Wagamese, Richard Van Camp, like, and more of Eden's books. Like, we have a lot of authors here, Christy Belcourt. I mean, take one of their pieces and write an opera to it. Somebody who's bona fide, you know?
Georgina,
it's not fair to take space.
Yeah, we'll have to leave it there, but it was great to see you, and appreciate you taking some time for us.
My pleasure. Thank you for covering this. Hi, hi.